We are now live, sir. You can start.
Okay. Hello, friends. This is Professor Sarveshwar Julkar. As if we are going to take the lectures for Ballarpur Institute of Technology under the AICT sponsored Prerna scheme for SC/ST students. In the last class, I think we have gone through the two different classes we have already taken for digital logic design, where we have covered various points related to Boolean algebra, related to most expected questions in gate examination, and so on. Now, from today onwards, the upcoming four lectures is based on will be based on C programming and data structure, where in gate the whole weightage for this topic is around 8 marks, 8 to 9 marks I can say. Very important topic, very well known topic to each and every computer professional, to each and every student of computer science and engineering as well as information technology branch. So we'll proceed it from here itself. Okay. Uh, as if we will start with C first. C was originally developed in 1970 by Dennis Ritchie at Bell Telephone Laboratories, where C is generally used for as a high level language, a general purpose structured programming language. We can also say like this, where instructions of C consist of various things that terms are very closely to same algebraic expressions. Like you are very much aware about all these type of things consisting of certain English keywords like as, if, else, loop, do, loop, while loop, for loop, etc. Next, when we go with the another part related to your C, the overview of C is like it's the unique Unix operating system. The C compiler and essentially Unix specification programs have been written in C first. Major benefits I can say like it is easy to learn, it is very structured language, it produces efficient programs as well, it can also handle low level activities. It can be compiled with on variety of computer platforms as well. This whole thing is an additional features in C that allows it to be used to at lower level, which is acting as a bridge between machine language and a high level language. There are the character set of C. You can say there should be some alphabets, there should be some numerics, there should numerical values like 0 to 1 to 0 to 9 I can say. Special symbols we can definitely use. We have to start it from special symbol if you want to start write any program in C. The very first keyboard value which we entered is nothing but a special symbol, that is hashtag. The words formed from the character set are building block of C and sometimes it is known as tokens as well. This token represents the individual entity of the language and the following different types are used in C. They are identifiers, keywords, constant, operators, then pointers, punctuation symbols, etc. The question then arises why to use C? We are now going to cover the C today along with recursion. The basic today's topic for the presentation is C, basic concepts of C, and recursion in C. The question arises why to use C? C was initially used for system development work in particular the programs that make up the operating system, where some of the examples of C that are we can say like operating system, language compilers, assemblers, text editors, print spoolers, and many different types of databases. Again, you language enterprises as well as everywhere we can use C. Next, identifiers. How to identify the C program? A C program consists of two different types of elements. That is, we can say that is the environment of C. It is consists of two different types of elements: a user defined and a system defined. Where identifier is nothing but a name which is given to the elements. An identifier is a word that used by the programmer to name a variable, function, or label, we can say. Where name and version of a text editor can vary different operating system. For example, we can say like if we are using Notepad, we will be used on Windows. One is there Vim or VI that can be used in Windows as well as Linux in and or Unix as well. These files are used to create the editor that called the source files from which we are taking care of. If we want to save any file in C after doing the programming, we have to save that particular file by using .c. It is simply the identifiers to store it wherever you want to store. Identifier consists of letters and digits if any order, except that the first character must be a letter. Of course, it should be the letter. Both upper and lowercase letter can be used in C to identify the things. Next is keywords. What are the various keywords that we can use in C? First is we can use simply system defined identifiers where keywords are reserved words of the language, like auto, double, int, struct, break, else, long, switch, etc. There may be many various type of things like character, constant, continue, default, do, float, short, undersign. Everywhere we can use this keywords while writing any program in C language. C is a case sensitive. It means this must be used as it is. 32 keywords in C programming, and the 32 keywords is on the screen now. You can take the screenshot, you can mug it up, you can use it. Majority of the time, one time the question for 1 mark was asked on this topic in GATE. That they have given four different words. One of them from the option was a keyword of in C language, like volatile. For example, volatile was present over there, and rest of the three are not. You have to identify which one is the keyword of C. That's simple question was there. Won't believe majority of the student at that time didn't solve that question. That's why I have put this particular point in my PPT as well, related to the keywords. Next is variables. A variable is nothing but a name which is given to the storage area that our programs can manipulate. And each variable in C has a specific type which can determine the size and layout of the variable's memory, where the range of values that can be stored within that memory can and the set of operations that can be applied to the variable can be used in C as well. Firstly, we'll go with the basic structure where where uh, basic structure where the name of the variable can be composed of letters, digits, and underscore characters. Majority of the times, the underscore characters we are going to decline it, but there should not be any such case. If you are unable to using that underscore character, you are not able to run any particular program in C. It must be begin with either a letter or an underscore. Can simply imagine how much the uh, weightage for that underscore. These are the various variables that can be vary. The value can be vary like character, integer, float, double, void. These are the variables. Uh, the description is on the right hand side where typical characters typically look into octet, that is 1 byte. That is an integer type. It may be alphanumeric character. It may be uh, uppercase or lowercase. That doesn't matter. A most natural size of integer for the machine is integer, int. You have to rewrite integer if you want to if you want to program for any particular code in C. There should be any particular floating point. There should be any particular value that we can use in your system at the time of programming. And some constants are also there. Some constant are also there. That means a constant is a value for or an identifier whose value cannot be altered in the program. For example, say 1 comma 2.5, that may not be altered. If you, it should be constant. For example, if you are using the value for pi, it should be 3.14 itself. That is 22 by 7 in terms of decimal. In terms of integer, we can directly write it like 3.14. Exactly the same example I have given over here. Here pi is constant. Basically, that means that what it means that pi is 3.14, and it is same for the program, not for my particular program, but for any particular program in the whole world and the whole universe, I can say. Integer constants. There are another constant where the integer constant is a numeric constant which is associated with a number without any fractional or exponential part. There are three different types of integer constant in C programming. One is decimal constant, which we have studied yesterday itself. In the last video, I have explained it to you about conversion of decimal to binary and decimal and binary to decimal as well. Hexadecimal concept was also covered in that part, where to the base 16 is nothing but the hexadecimal, to the base 10 is nothing but the decimal, as we have already studied. Floating point constants, character constants, string constants are again another example of these things. Where floating point constant is a numeric constant that has either a fractional form of an exponent form or an exponent form. For example, say 2.0, comma 0.000234, and so on, whatever. If there is any particular value which is acting as a constant, but it may vary, called as floating point constant due to some or other minus. Next, character constant like, for example, A, I, L, M, F. This may be the character constant which are used for various different quotation. For single quotation around characters, like we can use it in the program. Third one is string constants. String constants are the constants which are enclosed in a pair of double quote marks. Majority of the time when you are writing any particular program, the string constant should be reflected with double quote, true or false type of question may be there. Next, next is escape the sequence. The sequence and the parentheses that we have covered, sometimes it is necessary to use the characters which cannot be typed or which has a special meaning in C programming. It is, for example, a new line to enter, a tab, question mark, etc. In order to use these characters, escape sequence is used. For example, escape is directly means that backspace for this particular forward slash line with B called as backspace. Some sequences are like this. You can read it out once. There are. Now the main part comes into the play, that is operations in C. Before going to operations, we'll find out some tokens in C. What are the tokens that we are going to use in C? In C programming consists of various tokens, and token is either a keyword, an identifier, a constant, a string, or any different kind of thing. Where the following C statement consists of, say, printf, where we can use colon, double quote, hello world, and forward slash with n semicolon complete, bracket complete, then colon, like semicolon we can definitely use in any C program. Without semicolon we cannot write a single line in C. Now, what are the various operators in C? An operator is a symbol, as we all know. An operator is a symbol which operates on a value or a variable. For example, plus is an operator to perform the addition. If plus is there and there should be a value before plus, there should be an integer after plus. Ultimately, the operator is plus, and operands are the two different values which you are going to add. Same thing, we can use various operators in C. Wide range of operators, as I have already discussed, to perform various operations. For better understanding of operators, these operators can be classified as arithmetic operators, increment and decrement operators, assignment operators, relational operators, logical operators, conditional operators, bitwise operators, spatial operators. True or false? Which one is the operator in C? Which one is not the operator in C? Relational, assignment, logical, none of this. None of this may be your answer for that question. Now in detail or in brief, we are going to see about each and every operator in a brief. Say arithmetic operators, there might be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, percentage, that is reminder or modulo division, we can say, are nothing but the arithmetic operator which we are using or frequently using in C. Next, with respect to the data types, I can say there should be the basic data types that are arithmetic types that can be consist of two different types. One is integer type and floating point type. Enumerated types can also be the C data type, where they can again arithmetic type and define variables that can only assign certain discrete integer values throughout the program as well. Next is the type void, where the type specifier can indicates that no value is available. Likewise, we can use increment and decrement operator. Second point, increment and decrement operator. What is increment and decrement operator? Say, as you all know that computer only knows binary language. So we have to increment, we have to decrement with the help of numericals, with the help of binary numbers itself by applying various operators. That doesn't matter. C programming has two different operators, increment that is plus and decrement that is minus, to change the value of an operand which may be constant, which may be variable by one itself at a time. Increment plus plus increases the value by one, whereas decrement minus minus decreases the value by one. At a time, you can only perform one operation at a time. These two operators are unary operators, meaning that they only operate on a single operand. The operator which are operate on single operand are called as unary operand. Where example is like integer a is equal to 10, b is equal to 100, 100. If we want to increment the operator, we can add plus plus a, and that 10 can be converted or can be incremented by 1. That is, the answer will be 1 1. If you want to decrement b, which is already given, that is 100, you can you can reduce it by 1, that is decrement it by 1, and the answer will be 99. Third one is an assignment operator, which is used for assigning a value to a variable. The most common assignment operators are on the screen now, where we can use equal to, plus equal to, minus equal to, multiplication equal to, division equal to, percentage equal to, where we can use that particular operator in between the two, called as assignment of, in between the two operand, called also called as assignment operators, where a is equal to b, which is exactly same as a is equal to b, a plus is equal to b, which is equal to, which is exactly same in arithmetic, is that a is equal to a plus b. Same thing applicable to all, and this is in front of you. Some relational operators, the next part, as if we have to cover main majority of the topics in this class, so we are going with certain amount of speed. Where C relational operators, the relational operators checks the relationship between the two operands. It may be equal to, it may be greater than or equal to, it may be less than or equal to, it may be equal to, it may be greater than or somewhat like this. So not equal to can also be the relational operator which we can use in C. A relational operator that checks the relationship between the two operands. If the relation is true, it returns 1. The answer returns 1. Otherwise, if the relation is false, it returns 0. That also we have covered exactly like in the truth table part where 0 plus 0 it shows 0. Likewise, relational operators are used in decision making and loops as well. This is all about the various operators that we have covered. Again, in terms of C, I can again mug up you as a summarized part where C is a structured programming language. It is considered as a high level language because it allows the programmer to concentrate on the problem at hand and not worry about the machine that the program will be used. It can be operated with this. This is very much user friendly. That is another reason why it is used by software developers whose applications have run on many different hardware platforms. It can be run on many different hardware platforms. It can be run on many different things, which is very much user friendly. Can see. Next is this is a simple structure of C program. That is processor directives, global declaration. First part is processor directives, what we are going to cover. Next is global directives. Third one is third one is uh, third box is I can say the main content of of the program where local declaration, statement, conditions, etc. that you can write over there. And lastly, the other functions if any requirement is there. There should be certain constants and literals which we are going to use in C. So constant can be of any basic data type, that may be integer constant, floating point constant, a character constant, etc. And and if we are using any different thing over there, we have to define it at the start of the program. Which type of things that you are going to use in your program that we have to identify at the beginning of the program. That we need to rectify at the beginning of the program. So some C storage classes are there. A storage class can be the scope which might be there in between, where we can variable some functions within the C program. The specifier uh, that can also be modified by using certain storage classes like auto. Auto is one of the storage class. Register, static, extern, various different types of storage class is there. If you are not using any storage class, it can directly go in auto mode, that is auto storage class. Next is that in hashtag hash include stdio.h, which is really required at the time of preprocessor. It is a preprocessor directive to include standard input output function. That stdio stands for standard input and output functions in the program, where the main part consists of say what we want to print, that print f, that is print on the screen the hello world. Then if you want to return anything, you can return 0, that's it. And it should be directly reflected, directly printed, because we have already mentioned the code that is print f over there, so it is directly printed on the screen. This is a greeting program hello world that I have already described just now, where the main focus is on the start, where the greeting of the program demonstrates some of the components of the C program, of a simple C program, which is written by your name, or which can be written by, you can also write it down the date as well, where hash include stdio.h along with integer main void with local declaration statement, say printf, say hello world, and then semicolon. Don't forget to write semicolon over there. Next is that identifiers I have already discussed. First character must be alphabetic character or underscore that must contain only the alphabetic characters, which is digits or underscores. First 63 characters of an identifier are significant that cannot duplicate a simple keyword. One short note you can definitely note it down. An identifier must start with a letter or underscore. There might be the question on this particular topic. Identifier must start with a letter or underscore, true or false. It should be true itself. Next, in terms of certain register or storage class, there should be a register storage class, which is used to define local variables that should be stored in register instead of RAM. This means that the variable that has a maximum size equal to the register size and can't have the unary and operator applied to it, it does not mean it does not utilize in your C programming. But there should be another storage class that is static storage class as well. We can also use the external storage class as well. Next, when it comes to when it comes to the assignment operators, which we have discussed previously, the assignment operators, I have forgot one thing regarding the subtract and assignment operator. It subtract the right operand from the left operand and assign assign the result of the left operand over there. Remember these things. There should be a type that defines a set of values and a set of operations that can be applied on those values, where it may be of white type, it may be integral type, it may be floating point type. That doesn't make any sense. After that, when we are going with when we are going with any decision making in the C programming, decision making structure required that the programmer specify one or more conditions. Like it may be if else, it may be if else, it may be while do or while loop. Any different kind of decision making may be there at the time of while you are going to write any C program in your system. Next, in C programming language, that assumes any non-zero or non-value as a true, and if it is either zero or null, then it is assumed as a false value. It means if you want to rectify that your assumption or your value is true, there should be a particular value which is reflected over there. If your system, if your program does not having any value, ultimately it is a false one. In terms of this tree diagram, I can say I can also define various different C types. Broadly, it is divided into four different parts. One is void, integral, floating point, and derived. These are the four different types of C, where integral can further divided into Boolean, character, and integer. Floating point can further divided into real, imaginary, and complex types of data types. Where character and the W character, that is word character underscore T, can return in this particular format. The short integer, then integer, long integer can be the hierarchy of your integer types. You should also mug up and read out all these values, which are very much essential in this with respect to the variables and the typical integer sizes and values for various signed integers. Short int, the byte size is 2. Of course, one question, again, I remember one question in the year 2000, say latest, that is 14 or 15, question of byte size was asked in C. What is the integer byte size in C? It is Long integer, again it requires 4. Long integer, it requires 8. Where the range from the minimum value to the maximum value is already given, that is minus 32,768 to plus 32,767, that is the range of short integer. And integer is given over there, -2 147 483648 to 2 1 4 7 4 8 3 6 4 7. Likewise, the question may ask in that point also. Next is with respect to with respect to, we can say, with respect to if statement or any decision making in C. If we are going with any if statement, if the Boolean expression evaluates to true, then block the code inside, and if the statement will be executed if Boolean expression evaluates false. Conditions: if Boolean expression evaluates to false, then the first set of code after the end after the end of its if statement, of course, it will be executed in C program. C programming language assume that any non-zero or non-null value is true. I repeat, any non-programming or non-null values, non-zero values as true, and if it is either zero or it is either null, it is false. For example, condition can always show with the help of diamond box. Next is there are various different types of loops as well. Nested if else, or if loop, or nested if statement. If there is a nested if statement, there should always, you remember, it is always legal in C programming to nest if else statement, which means that you can use one if or else if statement inside another if statement which is already given to you. You can add one more if over there. The broad categories are as discussed in that previous slide. That is this sorry, that is this uh, what we can say tree diagram, where void void can be, it is a type void where C implementation is like void. You have to write void main and so on. Integral type is like Boolean. It may be Boolean, character, integer, whatever it may be. Where Boolean you can use with the word BOOL. Character you can use CHAR, or word character you can use with the help of WCHAR underscore T. You can also use integer, where with the help of various implementation short forms or keys, can say short integer, integer, long integer, etc. Floating point can again be divided into three different parts, that is real part, imaginary part, and complex part. Where float, double, long double you can be used as a floating point in real. Imaginary you can use float imaginary, long double imaginary, etc. You can also use complex words like float complex, double complex, long double complex, etc. for any implementation of C program. Next is in terms of this variables, that character is a variable type, and second one is variable identifier, that is code. It may be integer I, that is again the program, the normal complete program is like long uh, characters are there, that may be national debit, uh, float, that is pay rate, and double pi can also use in this program. Word separator is equal to the capital. Word separator is the underscore as well. Word separator can be the capital, of course, as well. Where poor style, you can see see the text which is written on the left hand side, that is boolean, maybe the fact, short maybe the max term, long maybe the long national debit, float maybe the pay rate, double maybe the tax, and so on. With respect to any particular syntax, we can also use switch statement to that allows the variable to be tested, which switch statement can allows the variable to be tested for equality against a list of values. Each value is called a case, and the variable being switched on is check for each switch case. The expression used in a switch statement must have an integral or enumerated data type. That can be a class type in which the class has a single conversion function to an integral or enumerated type as well. The program and the memory is given on the right hand side respectively, on the left and right hand side of the screen respectively. That is simply the variable initialization which can be used in C programming by the programmers. You can write down this note as well. When one variable is defined, it is not initialized. Remember this thing. When one variable is defined, it is not initialized. We must initialize any variable requiring prescribed data when the function starts. If the function starts, you can use prescribed data when which is already defined with you when the function starts by itself. Next is in terms of print sum of three numbers. If the program asks for print sum for three different numbers, say A, B, and C, you have to define at the start of the program, like you are going to use main, that is integers, local declarations, that means integer a, integer b, integer c, along with, if we are going to add them, we have to also mention related to the sum of integers, that is integer sum. If we want to use it for the subtraction purpose, we have to write integer sub, that is subtract the integers between the program. Next, as if we are going to I'm going to explain the program line by line. We are now at line number 14. 15 will be the statement, 16 will be the statement again, where whatever the conditions that we want to print on the screen, that is written in this printf, that should be written in this printf part and scanf part. Next, where printf, if we are going to welcome, this program adds n. Printf three numbers, enter the three numbers, that again ends with n. It may be any number, any number. I repeat, and the form, and third is in the form. Say n. What it means? We have to note it down for three different variables. So any different possibility may occur. Any different possibility may occur where numbers are now in A, B, and C, and then add them. We have to note it down that sum is equal to A plus B plus C. Don't forget to write semicolon at the end of every line. At the end of every line, there should be the semicolon, which is very much essential. After that, that will be the result. Printf, what will be the result? Printf will be the result that total is n percent d, and the value which is there, which is the calculated sum, and which will be your resultant, or which will be your answer, I can say. Printf, the total is that we have already discussed, and now the last line is thank you, have a good day. That will be your last symbol in that particular in that particular program. Next, with respect to the constants, I can say I hope you have understood that program, how I have explained it I have explained it in virtual manner. What is constant? The constant are a data types that cannot be changed during the execution of a program. A constant expression for a case must be the same data type as the variable in the switch, and it must be constant as or as a literal as well. When a variable being switched or on is equal to a case, the statements following that case will execute until a break statement is reached. Unless and until the break statement is reached, you cannot do any single thing on the screen. When a break statement is reached, the switch terminates and then flow of control jumps to the next line following with the switch statement. Same like variables constant have a type. In this section we'll discuss about the boolean, character, switch, integer, real, complex and string constant in the upcoming slides. A character constant is enclosed in a single quote always. Like null character, if it is null, don't worry. If it is null, it shows that it should also include within this single quote, that is single inverted comma, I can say. Null character, zero stands for null character. Alert, bail at any different word or later, that is ALERT. Backspace, we can use it with the help of this, and this is nothing but a symbolic name for this given ASCII characters. Next, one more concept is there in C. Along with that, integers, one more concept is in C, that is loops. There may be a situation when you need to execute a block of several number codes at a time. Majority of the time, the code and block may occurs. In general, the statements are executed sequentially. The first statement in the function is executed first, followed by the second, followed by the third, and so on. What is loop? There is a concept of loop in C, where a loop statement allows us to execute a statement of group statement, or we can say like statement or group of statements multiple times, and following in general form of a loop statement in most of the programming languages. Most of the programming languages, I repeat. It may be any condition, it may be the whole condition repeats again and again, called as loop, unless and until it executes. There are different loops in C. While loop is there, do while loop is also there, uh, where the flow diagram we have to write it down, where unlike the do while and do while loop, a do while loop is similar to while loop, where it should accept only do while loop, which is guaranteed to execute at least one time, where in terms of this integer constant, the values and the representation along with the type has been written on the screen. You can read out all these values again with respect to all this representation, and this will be your some string of the program. Zero, as I already discussed, zero stands for null character, and empty string also, that if singly in double quotes, if there is no any values, called as empty string. Use single quotes for character constants and use double quote for string constant. Where there is a double quote, we can definitely identify it is a string constant. Where there is a single quote, we can definitely identify there is a character constant. Next, the program demonstrates in three ways to use constants. For example, we can again take the example of pi, which is a universal value which may not be changed at any cost. Hashtag hash include stdio.h, that we have to define pi is equal to 3 decimal value of pi 3.141592656, and then local declaration that we again have to mention to constant double, and that means pi, we have to pi is equal to pi again. Printf define constant and memory constant. Memory constant stands for CPI, and the value which we are going to define, that is P capital I along with that. If the memory storage is of only 5 or 6 different units, for constant pi it is we have to recursively use that particular value from 9 to, and that value is again extended till 6536. We can convert that 6536 value into the next value, that is addition. We can say it's 3.14593, 141593. Same, it may be in defined constant, it may be in memory constant, it may be in literal constant. Everywhere we can use that particular value as a constant over there. Next is, if we are going with the next different part and the most important part of this class, that is recursion. Before that, I'm going to explain about the structure of C first, where it can allows it can uh, allows you to define the type of variables that can hold several data items of the same kind, but the structure is another user that define the data type available in C programming, which allows you to combine the data items of different kinds, where the title, for example, if you want to structure any particular line, first of all you have to write the name, you have to write the title, you have to write the author, then subject, and then book id, and so on so forth. You can definitely arrange everything in a particular structure, which is very much essential in C. The question arises, how to define the structure? The answer is very simple. That to define the structure here also, to define the structure, you must start, you must use with the struct statement. The struct statement defines the new data type which with more than one member of your program. The format of the struct statement is like this. The struct tag is optional in each member definition, which is a normal variable definition, where we can use local declarations, that is integer a, integer b, integer c as well, or any different type of thing where member definition is already you have to define or declare at the start of the program. Again repeat, if you are going to write down the program which is there on the left hand side, that means printf, three different numbers, enter the numbers, and so on so forth, you can definitely write accordingly this structure in C program. Next is, now we'll come back to the main important part of today's discussion, that is recursion. Before that, I have I also have to discuss the pre-processors also. But if we have time, we can discuss that pre-processors in this exam, in this lecture. After that, now we are going with typecasting and and types casting, and then we'll go with the recursion then. For example, typecasting is a way to convert the variable from one data type to another data type, that is simply used for casting of the data from one data type to the another different data type as well. Okay, another different data type as well, where if you want to store a long value into a simple integer, then you can type cast long to integer. That means, so firstly, the value which is long, that can be typecast or that can be converted in another data type, that is integer. You can convert from any different data type to another data type as well, where you can convert those value from one type to another explicitly using by cast operator, as which you can definitely use at the time of programming. Next is, while going to deal with usual arithmetic conversation, integer, unsigned integer, long, unsigned long, long long, that is double, unsigned long long, then float, then double, and then long double, that is the hierarchy in uh, uh, hierarchy, or we can say like precedence in terms of C programming. Next is recursion. Recursion is the process of repeating the elements. Most important, as the name suggests, recursion. Any different type recursion. Without recursion, you cannot write a single program in C. Where recursion is a process of repeating elements in a self-similar way. That same applies in the programming languages as well, as where if a programming allows you to call a function inside the same function, where a programming allows you to call a function inside the same function, called as recursive call of that function. The C programming language supports recursion, always supports recursion. That is a function that calls itself. A function which can call itself is called as recursive function. But while using the recursion, programmers need to be very careful to define that an exit condition from the function, otherwise it will go in infinite loop. If you are not if you are not define an exit for exit condition, the function may call itself again and again, again and again, again and again, till infinite number of times. The programmer should take care of this. The recursive functions are very useful to solve any mathematical problems, like to calculate a factorial number, to calculate a generating Fibonacci series, etc. In terms of recursion, I will give you the best example. If you are going to divide the number 10 by 3, 10 by 3, there should be an answer. Recursively, it can do the same process again and again, again and again. You may get the answer, which is like 3.3333333, n number of 3 may be onwards. Unless and until you have to give the condition exit condition to that particular program, to that particular function, to that particular calculation, it may not stop. It may not stop. So there should be some exit condition that you need to apply at the time of programming. If same thing is done with factorial as well, same thing is done with Fibonacci as well. As you know that Fibonacci series for a given number is using recursive function. It is like, if you want to start it from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and so on. Likewise, it may be universally defined, and that you need to stop somewhere else. There should be some arguments in terms of variable. That variable sometimes may come across a situation when you want to have a function which can take variable number for arguments, that is parameters, instead of predefined number of parameters. In that case, if you are using predefined number, or for that parameters, there should be various things that you need to identify, you need to rectify regarding the header files which is provided by the function at the start of the program. And macros also, you have to also take care of, you also have to take care of that macros to implement the functionality of variable arguments and follow the steps which I am going to explain right now. Firstly, we need to define a function with last parameter as ellipsis, and one just before the ellipsis is always an integer which will represent number of arguments. Next, create a VA list use integer parameter, use macro, and then use start macro, and then use end macro at the end of the program. With respect to the memory, I have that memory part in the slides. With respect to the memory, while doing any particular programming, there should be memory is used in terms of uh, program, where the functions and description for each and every programming, each and every memory, that is calloc, malloc, realloc, and so on. I'm going to explain everything over here. This function, say for example, say calloc, void calloc, if it is given, the function allocates an array of number elements, each of whose size in bytes will be the size which is already given, called as calloc. Void free is used for void address. This function releases a block of memory block specified by the address, where void malloc, this function allocates an array of num bytes and leave them initialized. Void reallocation of memory is also been done in C programming. Reallocation of memory has also been there, where this function reallocates memory, extending it up to any different size. We can allocate memory dynamically also while doing programming. If we are aware about size of an array, then it is easy and you can define it as an array. For example, to store a name of any person, you can go for maximum characters, say 100. You can also define something which is as follows, like character, say 100, character name, and you can define the memory size, that is 100. Ultimately you have to use that particular memory which is already given to you. You can already define it, and you can definitely allocate it dynamically as well. Next is, you can also able to resize and releasing memory when and whenever needed. When your program comes out, your operating system automatically release all the memory allocated by your program. But as a good practice, when you are not in need of memory anymore, then you should release that memory by calling the function free. Alternatively, you can also increase or decrease the size of an allocated memory block by calling the function, say reallocate, that is realloc. And you can also reallocate that particular memory any number of times, again and again as well. Next is next is
Sir, I am sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I guess today can we stop here? This is actually, can we continue this in our next session from here
Sir,
onwards?
hardly two slides are remaining with me.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Only two slides. That is command line arguments. That's it. Last slide I can say like this.
Okay, sir.
Command line arguments, which is the only topic which is remaining. I forgot at the time of watch. So when command line arguments are comes into the play, there are handled using main function arguments, where we can definitely use alloc, and memory reallocation can also be done in terms of that command line arguments, where the simple example that can check the any argument which is supplied from command line and can take action accordingly with respect to these operators which are on the screen. Various different operators we can use, like allocation of memory. That means we can definitely use we can definitely use the equal to operator, not equal to operator, less than is a separate, whereas less than equal to is different, less than or greater than equal to is again different. It should be noted that it holds the name of the program, along with that in itself and argument. It is pointer at the first command itself at the beginning of the program. you have to mention all these type of things. Meanwhile, we have to stop over here. In the next class, we'll see about the next different topics in this programming C along with the data structure. Uh, Over to you, sir. Over to you, sir. Sandeep, sir, are you there?